где-то 2-3 минутки, потому что люди подсоединяются еще. И потом начнем. Пока вы можете, в принципе, пообщаться между собой или пообщаться с нашим тренером.
So can you people write in the chat where you're from or where you are, just so I have an idea? Let's see. This is, I'm from Almaty, Kazakhstan. Well, I'm originally from Montana, but I've been in Almaty, Kazakhstan for a long time. Wow, Canada, New Delhi. What does French in Nur Sultan mean? You live in the French district of Nur Sultan? I did not know there was a French district there. Well, in New Orleans, I know there's a French Quarter, so maybe it's similar. There we go. You're from France, but living in Kazakhstan. Excellent. So for those who are just joining, please type in the chat where you are now. And then also, if you wouldn't mind typing in the chat, what is, in a couple words, what is your project about? What you'll be doing. All right, someone from Greece. Thessalonica. I've never been to Greece, but I would love to. I've been to Turkey, and I've been to Korčula and Dubrovnik. So I guess I've been on either side of Greece. Berlin, Germany. I've been to Munich, been to Frankfurt, but I've never been to Berlin. Would love to go there as well. Somebody is in New Haven. I guess that's because you're at Yale, is my guess. Is that correct? All right. So I had a number of friends who have gone to Yale. They loved it very much. Although we lived in Boston, so in the Harvard-Yale game, we support Harvard because we had friends on the Harvard football team. So sorry about that. That's right. Raincatcher, Jordan. Very nice. I like that. So I didn't understand all the technology. It seems like Raincatcher is a project to help you put it near the base of the tree so the water stays there. It doesn't run into the soil. Is that the idea? The water stays closer to the roots? Is that correct? All right, excellent. So I know I grew up in Montana where farmers put anhydrous ammonia in the soil for the same reason, to help keep the soil close to the wheat. Montana looks a lot like Kazakhstan. Mountains, farmland, cattle, horses. So again, if you're new, please write in the chat. Oh, Tiffany used to work for Harvard, but now you're at Yale. So who do you cheer for in the Harvard-Yale game then? Difficult choice. Public perception, very important in this day. So actually, public perception, our theme today, EQ, will relate very directly to that. So Baljan, let me know when we should begin formally. We can wait a couple more minutes.
Okay.
Give me the signal when it's time. The Sen Spa app. When I first saw that, I thought it was sensei, like martial arts. You are my sensei. Now I see spa. I would think it's like, rather than sustainable pasture, it would be getting a massage somewhere in the nice spa and relaxing. But in Montana, where I'm from, sustainable pasture is also very important.
So Tom, I think we have another 2 people, and I think we can start. The rest will join a bit later, I think.
Okay.
So the floor is yours.
All right. Thank you, Belgium. So I like to start by sharing my screen. If you're not sure in the Zoom app, you can go up and choose side by side, and then you can slide the bar if you are on your computer, where it'll look like. Also later, we're gonna have a quiz using the Kahoot app. So if you've downloaded, so you're gonna need a cell phone and a computer. So hopefully you're watching this on your laptop or a computer, because you'll need two different devices when we do the Kahoot exercise. But let me show you a little bit about myself, first of all. As we're beginning, you can see my family here, my wife, Michelle, our two sons, Joshua and Leo. Our older son, Joshua, is now a physics grad student at the University of Utah in Salt Lake City. But when he was 5 years old, one day he turned to me and he goes, "Daddy, where were you born?" And I replied, "Montana." And then he asked, "Where was mommy born?" And I replied, "California." And then he asks again, he goes, "And where was I born?" And I told him, "Boston, Massachusetts." And then he gets this funny look on his face and he asks, "How did we all meet?" So sometimes in life we wonder, how did we all meet? How did we all come together? And so that's a question that comes up. Because we come from different cultures, different families, it affects the way we view things, the way we look at things. And you end up on a team of people working where you are, or in a company, and sometimes you wonder, we're so different, how did we get together? Today, as we're talking about EQ, stands for emotional quotient or emotional intelligence, made famous by Daniel Goleman from Harvard University. But as we talk about it, we're going to be talking about personality types a little bit. Before we do that, we did another similar training for some young emerging leaders, and we asked them the question, how would you rate your public speaking skills? And you can see here that about half the people rated themselves as average, which is good, and about a third rated themselves above average. And so for you, probably some of you, you're used to giving presentations, some of you are not. So as we talk about making pitches, presentations, we're going to talk about the importance of understanding yourself and others for the preparation phase, for the presentation phase, and then also for the Q&A phase. We asked them another question, how important is learning to engage your audience to you, before we did the seminar? 63% said it's very important, it's a 5. You know, almost no one put it as not very important. So when we make presentations or we speak in public, we need to know how to engage the audience. And in order to do that, we need to understand ourselves and other people. And the last question we asked them, how important is active listening to you? And they were like a little puzzled. Why are you asking about listening when I want to give presentations? Because a lot of sharpening your presentations, I know some of your teams are already meeting with some of the people that are helping to coach you in making your pitches. And so it's very important to receive back and get input back from people. And so asking questions, follow up, really wanting to learn and receiving that feedback is an important part of making good presentations. So I'm the founder and president or former president of Amity Toastmasters. And so in our club, you learn by giving a speech, then getting feedback, and then you take that feedback and then you try to include the information in your next speech. That's how we grow and develop. So I know you'll be practicing your pitches and hopefully improving every time as you go through it. So as we see here, we see a couple of people who have to give a pitch. How do they feel about it? We're not sure. So what I want to do right now is just give you, ask you a quick question. If you'll answer this, we're going to launch a poll. And Sergey, if you can translate the questions for people into Russian. It's, how do you feel when you're preparing to make a pitch or to make a presentation? Are you excited in a positive way? Are you neutral, steady, either way? Or are you nervous in a negative way? So please answer the poll now. Looks like most people when they're making a pitch are excited. Some people are kind of more neutral. we'll give you a little more time, a few more seconds to answer. So far, 70% of you have voted. Let's see what the rest of you have to say. Got 3 more people to vote. Again, the question is, how do you feel in preparing to make your pitch? The top one is you're excited in a positive way. The bottom one is you're nervous in a negative way. And then we have in the middle. 2 more people yet to vote. They're trying to make up their minds. All right. So let's close with where we are here and see the results. So you should be able to see on your screens now that 3/4 of you are actually excited in a positive way when you give a pitch, which is a great thing. And only one of you, or about 8%, is nervous in a negative way. An interesting thing about this process when you go to make presentations is that when your heart starts beating and your adrenaline starts pumping, it's the same reaction within people who have stress that has a negative influence or the type of stress that's a positive influence. It all depends on your mindset. So for one person, when their heart rate increases and the adrenaline starts pumping, it means I'm ready for competition. And for other people, it's like, oh, I'm nervous. I'm not sure how this is going to go, what I'm going to do. And it kind of becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Sometimes we ask question. I think we asked it in the first one, is what comes first, the chicken or the egg? And people have different responses to that. But when you think about presentation, it's like, what comes first? Looking confident, coming across as confident, or feeling confident? And a number of studies have shown that if your body posture and the way you portray yourself is in a confident manner, if you learn to fake it, in some sense fake it, so you act like you feel confident, then the confident feelings will follow. And your audience will pick up on those things as well. All right, so I want to go back to sharing some other slides here now. So I want to share a couple of examples of people, of not only what we say, but how we say it's important. Whenever you give a pitch or any speech, there's 2 things that are important: your content and your delivery. In other words, it's what you say and then how you say it. So Oya Kim is someone who worked for Deloitte. And when she first came to Toastmasters to learn to speak, she was very quiet and diminutive, and she didn't project very well. But the last speech that she gave is a speech that I remember several years later. And the speech that she gave talked about how when she was a schoolgirl, her mother was the director of the school. And she went to her mother one day to complain about a teacher. And what she was complaining about was, in the classroom, they're graded on their participation. So one day she gave the correct answer to a question. Another boy in the class had given the incorrect answer. However, the teacher gave the young boy credit for the right answer and gave her credit for the wrong answer. So she got a dvoyki and the young boy got a petorki. We say a 5 or a 2. And so when she was explaining to her mother that it was wrong and how she talked to her teacher, the teacher said, no, I remember. The young boy was very confident in his answer and he gave the right answer. And what Oya understood at that point was that she, even though she gave the right answer, she was very hesitant and she was very quiet because she was unsure of herself. So the teacher remembered the tone, the emotions with which the answer was given, and when she gave them grades, she assigned a higher grade to the boy. And when she told her mother, who's the director of the school, how this teacher was wrong and how it's so unfair, her mother sided with the teacher and said, yes, Oya, you have to learn how to communicate, not just have the correct answer. And she was distraught and heartbroken that her mother didn't support her at the time. But later she began to realize as she was working, got involved with Toastmasters, that no, how we say it is just as important as what we say. This is Vladislav Son. who was our Central Asia speech contest champion. And when he gave his speech, what he won, what he talked about, he's of Korean descent. And one of his speech was about talking about my name is Vlad. And he talked about how his grandfather was sent from the Soviet Union border near Korea and shipped to Kazakhstan during the Cold War. And this was the middle of the winter. And what they did with the Koreans is they just dumped them on the steppe. They dumped them on the steppe and left them to freeze or fend for themselves. And what he shared in his speech is that some Kazakhs came up on their horses and saw these little hills, these mounds. They're wondering, why are these hills of snow in the middle of the steppe? As they came up to the mounds of snow, what they found out was there was Korean families huddled underneath blankets and the snow had piled on top of them. And these Kazakh people had very little food themselves, but took them in, gave them warm blankets and fed them and saved the life of his grandfather. Now the speech contest was held in Nur-Sultan, Kazakhstan. So he obviously won the People's Choice because he was explaining how the Kazakhs were the heroes in this story. But also he won the best speech by the judges because he had great content, he had good delivery, he checked all the boxes for making good presentations for those things. So what I'd like to do right now is when we talk about making good speeches, you can write it in the chat. What makes for good presentations? I want to hear from you guys a little bit. What are the things to keep in mind? How do you connect with your audience? How do you engage with them? How do you attract their attention? What are things that we can do? So you can write it in the chat, or you can, if you want to, you can raise your hand and speak out loud here in the group. Okay, being concise. Yes, that's good. Being short, to the point. What else is important? How do we engage with our audience to draw them in, to pull in their interest? Involve them with questions is good. Yeah. Like I'm asking you questions right now, and now you're writing in the chat. Share enthusiasm. Okay, very important. Use, what does shock facts mean? Shock facts, fact. Okay. Yeah, before a presentation, have maximum information about the audience. So we tried to get to know you guys a little bit with exercises last time. I went and looked at some of your presentations. Hooking the audience by delivery. Yes, but how do you do that? How do you hook them is my question. Drawing on the life experience of the audience to have empathy. These are all really good things. But to Meharajidin, how do you hook the audience? What can we do? Or anyone else can contribute as well. How do you hook them initially with your delivery? Okay, body language. I know on Zoom it's kind of hard to use much body language, but we do the best we can. Okay. Great, so thanks for contributing. Let's continue. So Richard Colson is a senior fellow for Intel. It's one of the highest positions an engineer can attain in Intel, and they don't have a lot of them. But he was able to come to Kazakhstan to do a seminar with us. And one of the things that he shared in his seminar is there's 3 things that you need to do to be successful. Number 1 is you have to be good technically. In other words, you have to be competent or have knowledge. Number 2 is you have to know how to work with a team. But the third thing he said is you have to be able to make good pitches or good presentations. You have to be able to persuade management to invest in your ideas. And so it's not just enough to be able to work with a few people. It's not just enough to have good ideas if you cannot sell those ideas to other people. because one of the things he said, when he got funding for his projects from Management Intel, other engineers would come up to him and say, oh, I had that idea 3 years ago. Oh, I had that idea 5 years ago. And he used to apologize and say, you're right. You know, it's not original. I know other people thought about it. But as people kept saying this to him, he changed his answer. He started saying, as he grew tired of this, he's like, so what did you do about it? Did you get funding? Could you convince people your idea was worthwhile investing in? He goes, if not, I don't want to hear about it. Don't tell me you had a good idea, but do something with your idea. So now we want to move into understanding the audience, self-awareness, and being others aware. And so I share a little bit about my family so you understand who I am. So we have 2 boys. Our older son is biological. Our younger son, Leo, is actually adopted from Smolensk, Russia. So I know our interpreter, Sergey, right now is in Minsk. It's interesting. But people often say it's interesting, even though Leo's adopted, how he looks like me. Joshua looks like his mother, and Leo looks like me. But I say I don't like it because they say how Michelle's beautiful, Josh is handsome, Leo's handsome, but no one ever tells me I'm handsome, even though they say I look just like Leo. I think it's because he's got a lot more hair than I do. So sometimes we think about factors, what's important and how we come across, how we present things, and they're all important. Some people, we talked about this last time, have rose-colored glasses, right? And some people kind of have their glasses down their nose and they're more skeptical. Prove it to me. Show me the facts. We looked at this image, remembering about this person, wherever they look, they see mountains or horns. But I think most of you have probably seen this image. So if we can, let me open the chat here. So I'm looking at the chat now, if you can look at the chat. So write in the chat, how old do you think this woman is? Or, well, first of all, yeah, how old do you think she is? So write that in the chat. Okay, we're getting different responses. Most of them are all about the image. Okay. Let's wait for a couple more people to write in the chat. Okay. Someone wrote she's 56. Someone wrote that she's 18. So Anne-Marie Klaas wrote that there's 2 women, an old woman and a young woman. So Anne-Marie, can you share with us, can you explain to us how you see 2 women? So can you turn your mic on, Anne-Marie, and explain that to us?
Hello. Yeah. When you look at the, how to explain this, it depends on how you look at it, whether you see the old or the young lady. So the old one is with the chin almost at the bottom of the, and the young one is looking backwards.
Right, okay. So if we look at the old woman, this is, what is this of the old woman?
The nose.
The nose, right? And if it's the young woman, what is it?
The chin.
Her chin, right? So most people wrote in the chat they see the young woman. Do you see the old woman? In the old woman, what is this, Anne-Marie?
It's her eye.
It's her eye. And what is this here?
The mouth.
The mouth. So does everyone see both women now? So, okay, I think most people will see both women at this point. So this was kind of made famous by Stephen Covey. So Stephen Covey wrote the book 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And what he talked about is you need to have a paradigm shift, how you look at things. He's saying 2 people can look at the same thing and see 2 very different things. We did a training here for a company once where someone from the accounting department and someone from the warehouse almost started insulting each other because they're like, How can you be so stupid to think that this woman is 70 years old? Obviously, she's like 20 years old. And they started judging each other because they looked at it very differently. And then finally, when they saw that there's two women in one image, they're like, oh, we get it now. And so people are different. They view things differently. So this is what happens. We call this the wheel of communication. So when something happens, we see or hear something. Based on what we see or hear, we tell ourselves a story. Based on the story we tell ourselves, we feel something. And based on what we feel, we act. So Stephen Covey in his book, when he talks about this paradigm shift, gives the famous example of a father who got on the metro or subway with his two young children. And he sat down and just kind of closed his eyes and went back. And as he's doing this, the children start running around the car. They start bothering people who are trying to read the paper. They're doing this. If I had hair, I would do it. Started pulling on the hair of some of the women. And at this point, some of the people are getting annoyed. And these children are being loud. They're bothering people. What are people beginning to think about this father and his children? So you can speak up or you can write it in the chat. As they're seeing what's happening, what's starting to happen? What story are they telling themselves? Someone wrote that the father should be managing them. Yeah. Managing them. Oh, someone said he might be blind and not see what's going on. Okay, giving some benefit to the doubt. But as these children are like, looking on people's cell phones, distracting, knocking the papers, they're trying to read a book. They're not letting them read their books. They're starting, as Stephen Covey tells a story, people are getting upset and angry, and they're starting to judge and condemn the father. What a bad father. He doesn't care about anyone else on this train. He is da-da-da. And what do they start feeling then? They feel, as we said, anger and judgment. And so they could take actions of reprimanding him. But what Stephen Covey, who was on this metro or the subway, went and talked to the father. And he said he bumped the father and he said, excuse me, sir, aren't you aware of what your children are doing? And the father kind of wakes up and goes, oh, I'm so sorry. We just came from the hospital where the children's mother passed away. So now, what are the people on the subway feeling? Now they're feeling empathy and compassion. So where there was condemnation, now there is compassion. What's changed? Has the actions, the behavior of the children changed? No, that hasn't changed. What has changed is the people's approach to the father based on new information, things that they learn. And so this is what happens when we think about emotional intelligence or EQ. We learn to get more information to tell a story before we take action on things, before we respond to different people. For instance, here's a picture of somebody. How do you understand this person? What's going on? Again, you can write in the chat or you can speak up. When you see this face, what story do you start to tell yourself? Okay. Emmanuel wrote, she is angry. Yeah, she kind of does look angry. What else? What are other possibilities? Someone saying she can't see something properly. But generally she's looking angry, right? Yes, people are saying, yes, she is angry. So maybe she's reluctant or hesitant. But imagine that you arrive to the office late one day and Baljan is your boss and you see this face on her. What story might you start telling yourself? Uh-oh, she's upset with me. Ooh, she's going to be coming after me. And so now it affects the way you relate to her, because now you have fear, or you like, well, she's late sometimes too. You want to judge her back. And so you begin telling yourself story, feeling things, and you start taking action, maybe avoiding, maybe condemning her in your own mind because she's angry at you for being late. But if you had more information, you might find out that she just got off the phone with bad news, or she bumped her knee under the desk and it hurts. And she's like, ugh. And so the look on her face has to do with some pain she's feeling in her foot. And so this is where we want to try to interpret things first. Okay, here's another image. What do you see here? How do you understand? What's her emotions? Okay. So obviously she's happy. Oh, someone says she's in a good mood. She's beautiful. What about this one? She looks happy too, maybe surprised, or ooh, what's happened? Interested, what's going on? Right? What about this one? So yeah, confused probably. Like what's going on? Doubt, understanding it. So part of this is when we're giving pitches or looking at people, we need to be able to read people's emotions and faces, but we also have to understand them correctly. And one of the things in this we talk about in the feedback cycle is understanding that we need to inquire more information, learn more about them. And that's why in your pitches, you always have opportunity for questions and answers. For them to ask questions of you, but also for you to give questions to them to find out more about what's going on. Okay, so I want to show a video right now, quickly. And let me share my screen. So this video is called the color changing card trick. And so let's watch it and see if you can see how did they do the card trick.
Hi, I'm Richard, this is Sarah, and we're going to perform the amazing colour-changing card trick with this blue-backed deck of cards. Now the idea is very simple. I'm just going to spread the cards in front of Sarah and ask her to push any card towards the camera.
Right, okay, let's see. I'm going to go for this card here.
Okay. Now Sarah could have selected any card at all from the deck, but she selected the card which is now face down on the table. And what I'm going to ask her to do is show us which card she selected.
Right, so the card that I chose was in fact the 3 of diamonds.
The 3 of diamonds, okay, an excellent choice. That card goes back into the deck. Now I'm just going to spread the cards face up on the table. Give a little click of the fingers, and you'll see that Sarah's card here has now got a blue back. Not particularly surprising. What's slightly more surprising is all of the other cards have got red backs. And that is the amazing colour-changing card trick.
So let's have some people share about how did they do the card trick. Does anyone have some thoughts? You can, again, you can unmute yourself and just share in a large group. You can write in the chat. I'm not seeing the chat. Oh, good. Someone noticed, they said the curtains changed color. Okay, so this is about changes, but I told you it's a card trick, so everyone's watching the cards very closely. What else changed in this? How many changes did you notice? Well, let's watch it and see if you caught all the changes. We'll watch the rest.
Hi, I'm Richard,
Watch
this is Sarah, and we're going to perform the amazing colour-changing card trick with this blue-backed deck of cards. Now the idea is very simple. I'm just going to spread the cards in front of Sarah and ask her to push any card towards the camera.
There's the cameras in.
Okay. Now Sarah could have selected any card at all from the deck, but she selected the card which is now face down on the table. And what I'm going to ask her to do is show us which card she selected.
Right, so the card that I chose was in fact the 3 of diamonds.
The 3 of diamonds, okay, excellent choice. That card goes back into the deck. Now I'm just going to spread the cards face up on the table. Give a little click of the fingers, and you'll see that Sarah's card here has now got a blue back. Not particularly surprising. What's slightly more surprising is all of the other cards have got red backs. And that is the amazing colour-changing card trick.
So who saw all 4 changes? Is there anyone who saw all 4 color changes? Okay, you can raise your hand. Someone saying no, they didn't. Right, so why didn't we notice these changes? You know, they're so obvious when we zoom back, right? It's because we're focused on the cards continuing. So when we talk about EQ or emotional intelligence, we are different personalities, different characters, so we focus on different things. And what we're going to talk about today is then how we can miss other things. We can not read body language, we don't read tone, or when we make our presentation, we make it in the way that we like to do it, and we miss out some things. So what I want to do right now is give you a chance to, where'd it go? Looking. So, Baljan, I'm trying to put people in breakout rooms, but I don't see that option to do that. It's not coming up as an option. Can you put people in breakout rooms or no?
Oh, okay. But how many rooms do you need?
So if we just put people in 4 rooms and just, so make room number 4 will be Russian speaking. So make it so they can choose what room to go in themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And room 4 will be Russian speakers. So choose, if you're a Russian speaker, choose room 4 to go into. But when you go into the rooms, you're gonna have about 4 to 5 minutes to talk. And I want you just to share with each other what was in your own experience, maybe something happened to you personally, or maybe what you saw that other people did, where they demonstrated good EQ, and also share where bad EQ, where you saw miscommunication or conflict happen because of misreading things. And so just share a couple of examples in your group with each other of good EQ and bad EQ, or good communication, poor communication. So if you can put people in 4 groups, Baljan, that would be great. And room 4 will be for Russian speakers.
Okay, I'm opening the rooms.
Okay.
Can you see that?
Yeah, I can see it. So people are going to break our room. So try and divide yourselves up evenly as you choose a room. Give it a little bit of time. So everyone should choose a room to join. I'm going to be in room 1.
Балджан, а как выбрать комнату? Тут ссылка по телефону у меня не показывается.
Так, должны выйти комнаты, когда я назначила комнату, у вас должно было быть на экране, выбрать комнату. И...
Сейчас, к сожалению, у меня ничего не вышло. Может, из-за того, что я с телефона?
John, you speak.
I'm on the computer, but I didn't have any sign.
Yeah, now you have to see several rooms. Do you see it?
No.
Wait a second, I'm just not in that. So what do you see on your screen?
I see your video. I see you now.
Strange. Wait a second. So on the upper corner, I mean somewhere here, you should see the gridding. Can you see it?
No, unfortunately, not.
It should be like sign breakout rooms.
I only see the view options and then nothing else. I don't know why.
А кто-то еще испытывает такие проблемы с попаданием в комнату? Вы? Наталья, у вас вот наверху должно выйти окошко. Назначь тогда вручную.
Okay.
Машу не будем, шахмат. Значит, да. Ой. How many people are through? 3. Three. Yeah. Tom?
Слышно меня, да? Что-то у меня тут очень...
Да, Елена, вас слышно, у вас просто все люди были в сессионных комнатах, поэтому тишина. Tom, they're all back.
Welcome back, everybody. I hope you had some good, interesting stories for one another. And so I know there's some real technical challenges getting in the groups, but we'll trust that we'll continue to work okay. So I'm going to share my screen here again with you. And we're going to start I'm going to divide people up again. So we have a couple of questions for you guys thinking. Think about, are you a person who thinks the cup is half full or half empty? So again, people can share where you think. You can write in the chat, half full, half empty. Someone says depends on the day. I remember once walking the corridors at MIT in Cambridge, Massachusetts, and there's a poster up there that says, we don't want people that say it's half full or half empty. We want people who say there has to be other glasses out there somewhere. And so really thinking outside the box. And I'm like, rats, that's not me. I wouldn't have thought of that unless I saw the poster. And so when we think about how we approach things, we can be half full, half empty. But I have a question for you. We're going to help you divide into some groups for yourself. Think about yourself. Are you more people focused or task focused? And this has to do when you make decisions. In other words, when you make decisions, do you think more about how it affects people, or do you think what's going to get you results? So people versus task it can have something to do with hanging out, what you like to do. But really, this has more to do when you make decisions. Are you more concerned with how it affects people? Or are you more concerned with, are we getting the results that we want? Okay. The next question for yourself to ask is, are you an extrovert or introvert? And I think most of us know an extrovert or introvert are, but an extrovert enjoys being with people, being loud, smiling. An introvert is more reserved, and they may have friends, but it's a small group of friends. An extrovert has many different people. So remember your answer to those two questions, because we're going to come back to this in a bit as we divide you up, remembering it. So I want to talk about, when we talk about EQ, we're going to be talking about DISC and how it affects you. So DISC is a language of dealing with personality types. So if you are extroverted and task focused, you would be D or a red hat person. So here's my red hat. If you're a person who's people focused and an extrovert, you're an I or a yellow hat person. If you are somebody who's people oriented but more introverted, you're a green hat. And the last is someone who's a blue hat person. And so we're going to talk about D, I, S, and C, but we're also going to be using the colors at the same time as we talk about this and how it relates to EQ. This is called the Serenity Prayer. I think maybe one of St. Francis or someone says, Lord, help me to change the things I can, to accept the things I cannot change, and the wisdom to know the difference. So what this means is each person is born or created in a certain way, with certain personalities. And it's the way they relate, it's the way they communicate. The other thing we know, if you've done any type of life coaching, is you cannot change the other person. The only person that you can affect is yourself. And so when we talk about EQ, we're going to talk about how you can change the way you relate and communicate.
Sorry for interruption. I have to check the translation once again if Sergey is translating.
Okay.
For that.
Is everything okay?
Okay. Yeah, you can continue. Thank you.
Okay. And so one of the things we talk about, there's things that are outside our control, and we don't want to spend too much time worrying about those things. We want to spend more time focused on the things that we can change, but then we need to know the difference. So when we talk about who we are, we're going to talk about how we adapt our style. We also say an emotionally intelligent person realizes that they are not the same as everybody else. Everybody is not the same as me. And then we have what's called the EQ golden rule, or the other rule. So the golden rule, in business, the golden rule is he who has the gold makes the rules. But when you're dealing with relationships, the golden rule is Treat others as you would like to be treated. When we talk about EQ, we change this a little bit. We say treat others the way that they would like to be treated. If we do this seminar live, what I'll often do is saying, for instance, some people, they appreciate touch. So if they're talking to someone next to them, they'll put their hand on their shoulder to communicate, you're important to me. You know, our relationship's important. I want to communicate things to you. Because they like touch, they touch other people. But for some people, they don't like touch. And so when you put your hand on their shoulder, they're not hearing anything you say. It's not helping communication, it's hindering it. All that's going through their mind is, take your hand off me. Take your hand off me. Take your hand off me now. And so that's a little bit what they're feeling. So the golden rule says we want to treat, for example, treat others as they would like to be treated, is show respect to them. How we show respect varies, though, from culture to culture and from person to person. And it also relates to how people want you to present information to them. And so that's what we know. The EQ golden rule is different than the traditional golden rule, as we talk about it. So when we talk about DISC, we'll talk about D stands for dominance, being direct. I stands for influence. S stands for being steady. And C stands for being conscientious. So I'm going to explain these four types a little bit more, then we'll talk about how you apply them in a situation. So for instance, a red hat person is, you would say, they're decisive, they're determined. These people love to take risks. If you chose an animal to describe this person, what animal would we choose? Again, you can write it in the chat. What animal would describe this type of person? Any responses? Now remember, red hat means this is, oh, someone wrote lion. Very good. You guys are already experts. The lion. Why the lion? Because he's the king of the jungle, right? He controls his environment and he's loud. So if you have a red hat person, they're very direct with you. They may yell at you, but it's not personal. It's just business. It's just the way they communicate. They want you to be short, quick, and to the point. They don't want to hear about the weather. They don't want to hear about your family. So for instance, when I share about my family at the beginning, if you're a red hat person, you're like, let's get on with this. Let's get on to the rest of the material. Like, that's not interesting to you. But it is interesting to the second type of person, the I or the yellow hat. They're influencers, so they're expressive. They smile. They love being with people. So what animal would describe this person? They're your optimists. They're enthusiastic. They love a party. So I don't know if someone wrote monkey for this one or the last one, but we could say that this person would be the chimpanzee. Look at that smile. So yeah, they love to smile. They love to connect with people, and they want to make their work fun. So you need to have jokes. You need to have interesting stories for them. So if we think about the third type of person, the green hat person, they're steady, supportive. They're the team player. And so they have empathy. They're very loyal. They tend to be shy, but they're also good listeners. They listen to other people. They often tend to become experts because they don't mind sameness. They don't mind routine. So they often become your scientists. So I would expect in our group, we'd have a lot of green hat people because you become specialists. You're willing to do the research and check on things. What animal best describes the green hat people? The S. Someone wrote dog. Yeah, especially in Western cultures, we write the dog, the golden retriever. In Kazakhstan, we've changed it though. It's the horse. Because Kazakhs were nomads, their lives depended on horses, getting around. A horse was your loyal friend, just like in America, we say, you know, dogs are loyal to you. And so these are people, they work hard, they look out for you, they're going to take care of you. So that's green hat. The last one we talk about is the blue hat, or the sea people. So we would say they're analytical. You have to prove it to them. So they're conscientious. They tend to be critical. They like details of different things. And so if you make a mistake on your slide or you misquote somebody, they become a skeptical. They're like, I can't trust anything he says anymore. He got that wrong. How could he get that wrong? I don't trust him. And so they love information. Information is key. They love doing a quality job. Quality is important to them. They speak in numbers and figures. What animal might this be? Someone wrote the owl. Yes, the owl is wise. That's a choice. Let's keep guessing. We have different animals that we can use. So has anyone been to MIT? Do they know what the mascot is at MIT? Massachusetts Institute. The mascot, or the animal for that, is the beaver. But we change it again. So the beaver's there because it's nature's engineer. They build homes. The tree falls exactly where they want it. But also we use the bee, the honeybee, because they're very detailed. They build accurately. They work well together when they're with like-minded people. And so this is the animal that we use to describe these personalities. But I want to ask you a question, because personalities are different. People hear things differently when you say the same thing. For instance, if you tell a red hat person or type D, you are doing a good job, what do they hear? In other words, how do they interpret that phrase if you say to a red hat, you are doing a good job? They may be thinking to themselves, what? Am I not doing a great job? What do you mean good? I'm doing great. Because red hat people are very confident in themselves, they take risks, and they think, I'm doing the correct thing. What about if it's a yellow hat person? Type I. If you told them you're doing a good job, what story might they be telling themselves? What might they be feeling? Well, they're going to be thinking, I like you too. Because you see, yellow hat people tend to be positive, encouraging. So if you tell them they're doing a good job, they don't necessarily think it means I'm doing a good job. They just think you're saying, I like you, I want to support you. And that's why you're saying it. Okay, what if you tell the green hat you are doing a good job? What might he be thinking? Especially if it's a red hat who's telling him you're doing a good job. Well, he might be thinking, okay, what favor do you want me to do for you now? So, because often red hat people will ask green hat people to do things because they're loyal and they're faithful. Red hat likes to delegate, and they know the green hat people. Green hat, so every type personality has a strength and a weakness. The weakness of the green hat is they cannot say no. Because if they say no, they're afraid they're going to break the relationship. And to them, being a team player is very important. The problem is, if they say yes too many times, they get overburdened and their quality suffers. And when their quality suffers, it eats them up on the inside. And that relates to this blue hat, the type C. If you tell them you are doing a good job, what might they'll be thinking to themselves, if only you knew all the mistakes I made. So that's often what they'll think, because they can be critical of other people and analytical, but they're also very critical of themselves and focusing on that. So now I'm going to give you a quiz, a brief quiz here. Which person, you can write this in the chat again. So which personality type has an office like this? Is this D, I, S, or C, or you can write red, yellow, green, or blue? Who has an, and explain why after you say it. Who has an office like this? Okay, seems like people are stumped. Nobody's writing in the chat.
Should I make a poll?
We don't need to have a poll. They can just write in the chat what they think.
Okay.
If people are writing green, yellow, different ones, well, let's come back. Let's look at the next one. What color has an office like this? D, I, S, or C? Or what color? Okay, someone's writing C. Someone wrote red. Okay. We'll come back and see. So we got red, blue. What about this desk? So who has one that looks like this? So actually, I had a professor who had a desk like this. And if we asked him, where's our exam from 2 weeks ago? He would go to a stack of papers, point at it, count down 20 centimeters, and he could pull it out. So he was amazing. His desk looked like that. So the desk that looks like that is more yellow hat. Okay, let's look at the last desk here. Whose desk is this? So now that you've seen all of them, we can kind of go through it a little bit. So let's review again. Which type is this? We'll give the answer. So this first one is friendly. It's got personal things up. That is green hat. This next one, now you look at this one, you've seen all of them. This is red hat. The desk is a power desk. Control, you see their trophies on the shelf. This one is stereotypical I, because life can be a little chaotic. And then the last one is, this one is the blue hat. Clean, sterile, everything put in its place. So someone wrote the last one can also be blue. Okay. So to go through the, look at it again here quickly. So looking at the different types again, just to give you a couple stories of how to pick up on people, what they're like, is can be easily done. For instance, if you went into a restaurant, the red hat will be like, hey, waiter, come over here. And they'll be like, I want a pizza and a beer. And if it doesn't come in 2 minutes, they're complaining. Yellow hat, they go into a restaurant and sit down with their friends. And when you ask them, the waiter comes up to take their order, they'll say, give me 1 more minute, because they're talking with their friends. Even if the waiter takes 2 or 3 minutes to come back, are they ready to place their order when the waiter comes back? No, they're still talking with their friends. It's about relationship. The green hat person, if they went to a restaurant, if I want pizza, but everyone else orders hamburger, 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 what will I order? I will also order hamburger, because I want to fit in. I don't want to be different. So even if I want, or he orders the same thing every time. The blue hat person, when they go to the restaurant, they'll open up the menu, they'll look at it, and they'll be like, here's 500 grams of meat, for €7. This is only 300 grams of meat for €10. They're going to order the better value, more meat, less euros. So that's how they're going to approach it. When it comes time to divide the bill, they pull out their phone, they divide it down to the cent. You owe this much, you owe that much. They're not going to forget tip. They won't forget tax. The other people may not. So that's one way to tell. The other way to tell the difference of people is when it comes times to remodel your bathroom. So Red Hat will go to Home Depot or whatever store, buy what he needs. At 8 p.m. that night, it's done. He goes, he does it, he's finished. Yellow Hat people, he's going to call his friends and say, hey, come over for a barbecue. Come over. When his friends all show up, he'll be like, while you're here, you want to help me remodel my bathroom? So he wants to do it with people and connect with them. So the green hat, he'll look at the bathroom and think, you know what? It's good for one more year. He's not going to change it because they don't. And the blue hat, though, he will go to the hardware store. He'll ask the sales guy, you know, my bathroom is very humid and my tiles are coming off. I need a good glue that holds even when it's humid. The guy at the store will tell him what glue to buy. Does he believe him? No, of course not. He's going to be on the internet checking the best glue. Then he finds the right glue. Now he's got to find the best price. So at 8 p.m. that night, is he done with his bathroom? No. He's still trying to figure out which one is the best one to buy. So there's different things you can see quickly how to relate to people in them. And so what we want to do right now is we're going to move on. We're going to do a Kahoot quiz for you briefly. And so I'm going to bring up the Kahoot. And so the code is, let me type 7380698. So you can see my screen, correct? So if you go to www.kahoot.it, a second. You should be waiting, and then you should be able to join. Or you go to Kahoot, or if you have the app, you put in this number in Kahoot.
Could you put the link in the chat box?
Yeah, I'm trying to get to the chat, but it's not popping up for me. Second. Let me stop sharing for a second, and then I can put it in the chat here. So this is the number to put in. You go to www. You can also go there. Or if you download the Kahoot app, you put the game pin in. So we're waiting for you guys to join, and then we'll start. We're waiting for players. So if you can, you want to do this on your mobile device so you can still see the screen. Are people able to join, or are you having problems?
Have you shared the link or something?
Okay, let me try to get the link here.
Or pin, maybe?
Yeah, the game pin is.
Then I share the link, kahoot.it, and you give the pin, right?
Yeah.
So it should be this link. And when they go, they should enter.
Okay, Sergey's in the room now. I should see others here.
the pin?
The pin is 7380698. We put it in the chat.
Strange, I don't see it. 73.
7380698 is the pin.
80698, right?
Yeah, it's in the chat. 7380698. So we have Natalia, Sergey, Jordan's in here now. ET's here. AK. We'll wait for other people to join, then we'll start it. So on your screen, you'll see the questions. And then if on your mobile device, when you do it, you will see the responses. So it's getting the correct answer is most important, but also how quickly you answer determines how many points you get. So we have 7 people here now. Okay, we got 10 people here now. There's, how many are in the chat altogether? How many in the Zoom call right now? 14? 16 or so. Okay, we'll give you a couple minutes and then we'll start it and then I'll share screen.
So we should see just the purple screen, right?
Yeah, I'll share screen with you. Or I'm not sharing screen right now. So let me share screen. And so you'll look here and you'll give your answers on your phone. Okay, we got 11 people. Let's start it for the sake of time. Oh, someone's in. Okay, here we go. The game is starting. So this EQ, so beginning 3, 2, 1. So there's 8 questions. So which animal is type red? So you choose the color. So it's snake, dog, chimpanzee, or lion. So you look on your phone and you do it. So you only have like, does counting down how much time, and we'll go to the next question. Okay. So you only have like, it's automatically 20 seconds to answer. The correct answer was the lion. So now let's go to the next question. So right now our leader is ET, Jordan in second, AK third. So you have 20 seconds to answer. Let's go to the next question. Question number 2, which type is an extrovert? You have S or D. Now the colors in the background don't match the colors that are written. So they put the colors in by default. So there's 5 seconds left. Choose one or the other. Let's see how people are doing. We have 9 answers. Okay. So the extrovert is actually D, which is red. So some of you might have made the mistake. It says red, even though the background color is blue. On the Kahoot game, you can't choose the background color. So let's see who's winning now. It's ET is in the winning place, followed by Dim and Jordan, then AK. The next question. Which one of these is the EQ golden rule? So Sergey, I'm sorry, for the Russian speakers, this will be hard. You may not be able to translate them all in time. So do to others before they do it to you. Do to others as you want them to do to you. Do to others as they want you to do to them. Do to others equally. All right, you guys got that one right mostly. So do to others as they want you to do to them is the EQ golden rule. ET is on fire. Jordan's in second. The next question. Question 4, which type has a car like this? So who would have a car like that? Thinking about it. We didn't show you the cars, but we showed you the offices. Who would have a car that looks like this? Oh, actually, okay. Oh, there's a mistake. Okay. So ET is still in the lead here. The correct answer was green. So the green has a car like that. They don't like change. So the next quiz, what is missing in this diagram? What would be in that box that's missing? Check your facts, tell a friend, tell a story, or get feedback. Okay, correct answer is tell a story. And you may tell the story to a friend. Jordan's getting closer to ET. Coming up, the next question. Which word does not describe type C or blue? One of these words is not correct. 3 of them are correct: critical, cheerful, conscientious, calculating. Okay, cheerful was the correct answer. So actually, critical is very true of them. Blue hats or type C, they're very critical. They're very analytical and do that. All right, DIM is moving up. ET is still in the lead. I think we got 2 questions left. What's the best way to approach type D? How do they want you to talk to them? Do they want lots of facts? Do they want all the details? Do they want focus on results? Or do you need to be cheerful with them? And again, when you answer on your phone, you choose the color that aligns with the answer. All right, you guys did good. Focus on results. That's what they want to know. Then we're coming to ET's in the lead, Jordan's well behind. So 1 question left. Okay, this next one is just true or false. You got 50% chance of getting it right. Let's see how it goes. Type S, green, do they like pressure and deadlines? Is that true or is that false? It is false. So they do not like pressure. They don't like deadlines. You need to give them time to think and relate to things. Okay. So now we'll come back to the PowerPoint. So ET, you were the winner. Nice job on that. Oops, we got to move that up. And so that's the. So a few tips, and just in conclusion, reminding, if you're dealing with the red hat or type D people, you want to be direct with them. Start with the results and benefits. Give details only when necessary. Be quick and straight to the point. And don't be afraid to challenge him or her. So we say you have to match fire with fire. So if you're giving a pitch to a red hat person, if they challenge you, go ahead and challenge them back. They don't mind if you are direct with them or even pushy. A red hat person doesn't mind if you put pressure on them. They like the pressure and they'll match pressure with pressure. So 2 red hat people can get in an argument and be a very heated argument and raise their voices. But when the argument's over, they can work together well and proceed ahead. If you're talking to an I person and trying to make a pitch to someone who's an I, You need to be enthusiastic. You need to be positive and friendly. You need to affirm them. You need to give them the feeling that you need them, that they're important. So when you're making a pitch to these people, it's got to be like, wow, we're going to do this. It's going to happen. It's going to change lives. It's going to be incredible. When you're dealing with green hat, making a pitch to them, they want to be relatable. So you need to keep calm. You don't want to push them to make decisions. You need to give them time to think, to answer. And you want to be sociable, relate to them, find common interests. Actually, that's true for anyone, to find common interests with them, but it's especially true for green hat people. And then for the final one, you need to be analytical. For blue hat, relating to C. Offer clear facts. Present your ideas objectively. Be specific and detailed. So they want lots of information about what you're going to do. So in addition to DISC, you're all from different countries. And so people from different countries, also you need to think about pitching them different ways. There's a great book you can find called The Culture Map. We won't have time to go into today. I'm just sharing you as a resource to know when you're communicating to different people, whether it's from France or China or Germany, you need to know a little bit about that culture and what's important to them in making pitches, because it varies. And it's similar to the DISC test, but it's related to culture. So I want to talk a little bit about visual aids. So when I show this slide, I want you to write it in the chat. When I share about my family, what type does this appeal to? When I talk about my family, is this green hat, red hat, blue hat? Okay, it'd be yellow because smiling, showing family. There'd be another color. What's the second color it could be? You know, yellow wants to be engaging, connecting. So we have yellow hat, and we also have green hat because it's about being personable and sociable. So these, doing that, that's one of the things showing connecting with part of the audience. Okay, when I made a presentation about this, this was to engage people. But the other thing that I did with it, I just didn't explain it myself. I asked someone who's seen it, who said they see both people, and have them share about it. So if you can do audience engagement that way and how to use visual aids to people. What's wrong with this slide? Or what's good with this slide? Who likes a slide like this? What color hat likes a slide like this?
Actually, not well-educated presenters like such type of slides.
Right. Why do you say that, Andre? Tell us. That's a very good point.
Because it's too much information. It's not focused on one question, and it's independent from temperament. It's depend on the education and self-preparation to the presentation, I think.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of acronyms: WACC, NPV, MCC. If you know your audience, if your audience is very familiar with all this, that is okay. Or if they're a blue hat, they'll like it. But if you have a slide like this for red and yellow hat, they're not going to track with you. It's not going to go anywhere. Same with a slide like this, similar things. So when we do this training, the other thing you can do is, this is a standard slide we use about understanding others. But when I bring the presentation to you, I used her picture. Why did I do that? Who can share?
I just would like to say about last slide, if my student will show such type of slide, it will be a fault immediately.
Okay.
However, I can give a second chance for such students after several days.
Okay. Give another chance. So with this one, if you connect with your audience or relate, so making presentations, pulling on people from the audience. So these are slides that I used to use when I made presentations, because I am naturally a blue hat type person. But I've learned that you have to make simpler slides, not that. So I used to use like slides like this and that, but now try to use the image of the animal instead of this. Like I used to have slides like this with lots of information and go down it. But now it's better if you show an animal and talk about some similar things. The other one is what was good about this slide in using it with people? Or what was bad? What was good? What was bad? It's not just a rhetorical question. I'd like people to respond a little bit.
Generally, I personally accept such type of slide because it's complete information about 4 types of temperament of people. In our case, it's different colors. So, and I also expect for the next slide, I expect some kind of, some kind of info for these types. Something like
Right,
that.
but it makes it engaging. I asked questions, gave you time to think about it. In a live audience, people would respond and say it. And so rather than just saying what they would say, giving you an opportunity to think and respond before showing the next answer to make it interactive. So same with this one. When we do this one, we go through one at a time and have people repeat it and doing it. And so let me stop. So as we want to take a look at a few slides from some of your presentations. So what is good or bad with this slide in the presentation?
This slide is a special style. If you don't want to say something concrete, and if you would like to show many examples in one slide, you can use this slide, according to my opinion. Especially you have here short explanation with a small text. Actually, you can use this slide without any text, or instead of a title. Title is necessary because title will show the direction or framework of this slide. Generally, ABC you can say by words, or say something shortly, or write something shortly, like a keyword for every picture or a group of pictures. But generally, I would like to say this slide needs only one title and don't need this text on the right side. Okay. Because it's too small, and you speak about this. It is not necessary to use a double in text.
Right. Good. So good point, Sadinga. Here's another slide that someone has. What about this slide?
Oh, it's from
this
ministry.
Is great
it's
from Blue Hat, right?
From ministry. From Minister of Natural Resources.
Right. There's too much text, too much information. So what often will happen, people will make slides like this when they don't know what they're going to say. So you're depending on the slide, right? You're just going to read it and have it in front. The problem is your audience will start to read the slide and they won't listen to what you're saying as well. They're going to be trying to focus on reading it. What about this slide?
It's the same problem. It's better, but with the same problem.
Right. Better, but same problem.
And also such kind look on the contrast of a slide. White letters on the blue background. It is not readable, especially if somebody sitting far from the monitor. It's not readable. It's very bad contrast.
Okay.
Also, it makes.
What about this one here?
Also, it is not so clear. Text, it's good. As I said, the short text is always good for slides, but I think the text inside of the picture is not readable, and it will be nice to show this small picture for the whole slide, and with text, with technology and so on, it's not so important. And also the disbalance of a slide from left to right side or from right to left sides, because different cultures need different directions of reading. The picture first and then text, or text first and picture. For European civilization, I would say we have to write it opposite, picture and then text. And for Arabian style, it should be in opposite. So it's a bit complex.
Yeah. So you bring up a good point. For different cultures, it's different styles. And so you kind of have to know who you're pitching to. Here's another example. They give the results, they give some numbers, which is good for people. There's some issues. What about this slide showing their business model?
It's a great. It's not for presentation. It's for how to say small book from several pages, and it's very visual. That people can see it, read carefully, and thinking about this. But it's not for presentations, of course.
So how could they do this differently?
Or
So remember when you give it.
You can use this slide in the end of the presentation like a cumulative result. So you have to speak 10 minutes about each position in the using the separate slides, and then finally say, oh, in result we have a such strong diagram or strong scheme or something like this. And
right, and that's a very good point, because a slide like this can show that you actually have a system, you've thought about how everything fits together, which the blue hat and green hat will appreciate. But you can't go into it in a 5-minute pitch. You don't have time to do it. But so you don't want to talk through all the points, but you can get their initial attention. And then this slide it's the last one.
This is a classical style of in our field. So everybody use such type of style. All German Kazakh University, Red Karak, United Nation, and so on. So it's a classical slide. What we really accept, and we already, I would say, it's our traditional slide, I would say.
Okay. So what I want you to do right now, if you can write in the chat to kind of end our time, I'll stop sharing. Based on what you heard today, what are the 2 to 3 things that you will be sure to do when you give your presentation? It can be in the preparation phase, the presentation phase, or even in thinking for the Q&A time. Because my understanding, you have 5 minutes for your presentation, 5 minutes for Q&A. But what are the 2 to 3 things you want to keep in mind as you do this from what you've learned about EQ relating to people of different types?
I think, first of all, type of audience, type of referee. Definitely, if you will follow to yellow style, the blue style people will be not happy from this presentation, and opposite. So it's always risk, and you cannot follow to compromise, because if you will use a compromise style, nobody will be happy. So choose own style. If you are, for example, I looks like a yellow person, so I will choose a yellow style and will follow to yellow style. And if green people or blue people will be not happy, so I will explain. I will prepare a lot of additional materials for the questions. I will try to prepare materials for the questions, and then during discussion I will try to answer for the questions. So this will be my way.
Okay. Anyone else have contributions? That's a good way. I mean, we can work from your strengths, your style, but you have 5 minutes to connect with people, and you're realizing that people may be different from yourself. Okay. Someone wrote, Natalia wrote, take into consideration that all people are different. Yes, they're different, but then what will you do knowing that they are different? Okay. Someone else wrote in the chat, seriously prepare, know information about the audience, knowing who you're making the pitch to. That's very important, knowing what's important to them, and then feeling the type of participants. Jordan wrote, try to understand what color they are. So based on what we shared today, even as do you guys know, I don't know the exact format. Do you know the format, how the pitches will be made online, correct? So what can you do to know what type they are and how you need to adapt your style? What can you do? to gain that information. So the last thing that I want to do, so based on what you heard today, I'd be curious to hear from you guys. Indicate which type you think you are based on the descriptions today. I'll give you about a minute to do that. Okay, Karina Nisa wrote red in the chat. Oh, we didn't give much time. Polling is closed. So someone wrote I'm in between. So, okay. We're gonna relaunch the polling. Only 3 people replied. And so you have to answer again with the poll in Zoom. Okay. So as we're looking at this, we have about 71% are green hat people. Now it's down to 56%. We have red hat people. Ah, interesting. Okay. So based on self-reporting, we have about 20% red, 20% yellow, and about 56, 60% that's green hat. And so, and then we'll share the results here. And so I'm surprised there's no blue hats in your group. So I'm guessing you guys are the people that you're here because you'll be making the presentations. So that's definitely the red hat people wanting to get in and make results. And as I said, green hat people often end up being scientists, become specialists. And so if you've read the book by Jim Collins, From Good to Great, if you're, so if you're familiar with that book, it's about taking good companies to being great companies. And so one of the things they find out is that taking an existing company, making it into a great company, green hat people make some of the best leaders. Because often people, when they do these testing, they'll be like, red hat, they're the leader because they're decisive, they're direct, they can be domineering when they need to be. That's great for a startup, but when you're taking a product and developing, you really need a lot of green hat people. So I think, Baljan, we're at the end of our time. Is there any questions you guys may have? Andre, you're raising your hand. Do you have a question or comments to make?
Yes, you said leader or supervisor, because it's 2 different things. Leader or supervisor of the company, it's 2 different things. Because
yeah, you're right. They're two.
Yeah. What's better to classify based on this color? Boss, with a bureaucrat, good bureaucrat, or good leader? Good bureaucrat is a blue one, yeah, I think. Or what can you say?
I would say it depends on the situation of your company or organization, what color hat makes the best leader. Also, it depends on the ability of the person to adapt. A good leader knows how to adapt their style when necessary to motivate people or to give direction. But typically in a startup phase, you need the yellow and red hat people because they're more the risk takers. They're the yellow hat, especially are creative thinkers. They're very good at thinking outside the box, trying new things. If you're dealing with technology, you're gonna, and also yellow hat people are good at engaging investors, depending on what the investors are. You know, in Russian we say "привлекать," you know, to bring people in. And so it's, but when you're taking an existing company and going, Jim Collins' work showed that a green hat person is the best at building a team and doing a product and making it really excellent and having long-term results. And so any type can be a good leader. Certain types fit certain categories. It depends if they're flexible. And so as you guys think about doing your projects, every type has strengths, every type has weaknesses. So you want to maximize your strengths and minimize your weaknesses. And so every type has advantages and disadvantages. So that's good. All right. So I thank you for your attention and engagement today. I hope it was beneficial or helpful for you. And taking care of things. And again, if anyone have any last minute questions, we can take I can take those right now.
Tom, I submit example of one presentation. We made presentation.
Представляем вашему вниманию презентацию о женском вводном форуме, являющейся информационной.
Can you criticize this presentation, at least the slides and structure and so on?
Сама идея вводного форума была инициирована Ассоциацией женщин и обществ.
Okay, I need to. Yeah, so I think I've clicked on that just to see it. So, where did it go though? Okay.
Actually, critic will be very useful for us.
Okay. All right. And so I believe that all of you will be getting someone from a Toastmasters group assigned to help you with your pitching, giving you feedback on your things. And again, it's up to you what you do with that feedback. But I think as you keep these things in mind, realizing that I think most of you recognize not everyone is like yourself. And so you need to, the final decision is yours, how to make their presentations. I can look at that later and give feedback on it. But I know Baljan is setting a schedule with Damir from Toastmasters to help do that. I also know tomorrow there's a training that Ilyas Batirov is doing on goal setting. And so likewise, goal setting, people have different approaches to the goal setting, and keeping the 4 colors in mind will be helpful. So again, so thank you for your engagement. I wish you the best luck in pitches as I look at the ideas, some very creative ideas, some very useful things could be done. So I wish you all the best of luck. And you've got some great technologies, and hopefully you can find people that will get behind you to support these ideas and make them a reality.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you all for joining. Good luck. And don't forget to come tomorrow to the meeting with Ilyas. Bye.
All right. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.